like I always just say hello in the most obnoxious way when we
So do
join.
I. It's my goal is to just be obnoxious in the hello.
It's the
It's so
best.
people understand what they're getting into.
Yeah, you're
You know what
prepared.
I
You
mean?
can leave if you don't like it.
But
Just,
don't,
but
because
don't leave.
no, don't leave. Don't leave us. It's like that pick me girl who's like, I'm just so great. Pick me. Don't go. Pick me. Or like Meredith Grey in that episode where she's like, pick me, choose me, love
Oh
me.
yeah.
Great scene. Now I make fun of it.
It's it's a great scene.
It is. But yeah, welcome back to
Welcome
another
back
episode.
of Crime, Cocktails,
Cocktails.
and BS.
I love when you say it. It makes me so happy.
Well, I'm glad I can make you happy.
Yes. How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing well. It's like very cloudy here today, so I'm having trouble waking up.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and it's
Same.
afternoon where you are.
Yeah, and I'm still having trouble waking up. It is like sunny but snowing. It's so strange.
Oh, that's pretty
Like
though when it's all.
it is, but kind of over it. Honestly, I'm just over having so I do like the morning shift with Bori.
Uh-huh.
So it's like 30 degrees out, really cold. Never remember to bring gloves with me because I'm like, let's just go. Let's get this done, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And we do like a normal loop around our block and everything, which our block's pretty large because there's like a piazza area in between. So like it's like a
Ooh.
double block,
Okay.
which is really nice. But yes, we do that. And I call my parents and like whoever during that period. And I don't realize that my hand is freezing off.
Oh yeah. Does your phone ever glitch out when it's too cold?
I haven't had it glitch when it's too cold.
Oh, that used to happen to me in Wisconsin all the time. Like I would
Really?
be talking to someone who just shut off because it was so cold.
I remember
Oh,
that. I know
winter.
that happens when it's really hot. I've
Mm-hmm.
never seen it when it's too cold.
Yeah.
But
My
yeah,
dogs are barking.
that's fine. Ollie,
Barky
I'm
bark.
surprised Ollie, I was gonna say Allie, and that does not make sense. I'm surprised Ollie hasn't tried to jump up on the
I
mic
know.
yet. I just
I
saw him.
know. They're running back and forth.
Aw, they're so cute.
My
Oh,
parents are visiting and they have
yes.
a pit bull named Athena and they've been
That's
playing
such a
with her.
great pit bull name, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It
fantastic.
is. But
Is she
they are
there?
best friends. No, she's not here,
She's with your parents.
but she comes over and they run around and it's really
That's so
cute.
cute.
Yeah. So that's a
I love
highlight.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bori's a loner.
That's okay.
It's okay. I see
It's just
Penny.
fine. Penny.
Penny looked directly into my soul.
She's there's
She
Ollie.
did. Ollie seriously is our
I know,
third
he's my
member of the team.
assistant. He's
He
my
has
assistant
tried
who
multiple
loses
times.
everything.
He's tried multiple times jumping up and being on the mic. And
Yes.
I'd love to get his opinion on things.
What do you think, buddy?
Kaisa literally just
Can you
moved the
hear him?
microphone to him. Yeah, did he just nuzzle it?
Yes.
I
Oh
love
yeah, he
it.
did. Now he thinks
Oh,
it's a toy, so
oh,
it caused
great.
a problem.
That's gonna be fun. Oh, but Kaisa, I seriously need to wake up. You know
Me
what I think
too.
would help?
What?
Kaisa's cocktail corner.
Ice's cocktail corner. So this is called the Crush Kick. Ooh,
Woo!
and it is a coffee martini. And Dane gave me very detailed recipe instructions here.
I feel like
So
every
it,
week Dane is getting more and more into it,
I know. He's
which makes us get more and more into it.
mm-hmm. So it is rich coffee syrup, which is made with sugar and coffee, a few drops of saline, and a small amount of
Saline?
yeah, I guess so. I guess it's like a coffee
Is that
thing.
okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
and a small amount of cayenne pepper and ground cinnamon.
Ooh.
The syrup should taste of sweet coffee, but punchier, it says. Vodka, or you can leave the vodka out for a mocktail. And then strong brewed coffee. And you pour it all into a shaker with ice and shake until frothy, strain into a martini glass, and garnish with whole coffee beans.
Yay.
It's beautiful.
Do you think if I sent Dane and you, obviously, some like ingredients you can only get from here, he could try to make something?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's like
Because
the king of taking things from our cupboards that we have left and making like a gourmet meal. I don't know
so
how.
so I'm from Rhode Island and we pride ourselves on coffee milk,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
which there's coffee syrup. So it's like making chocolate milk with chocolate syrup, but instead it's coffee syrup.
that sounds
And
delicious.
yeah, and there's two companies. So there's Eclipse and there's Autocrat. And fun fact is my grandmother's family made the Eclipse one and sold it.
Whoa, cool.
Yes, very cool. But then there's another family that made Autocrat, and it's always like Eclipse or Autocrat, and everyone's like, Autocrat's the one that's actually like legit. And I'm like, fine, whatever. I really don't have a dog in this fight anymore. But yeah, we always had Eclipse in my
That's
house.
a really fun story. I
Mhm.
like that.
Thanks. But maybe I'll send you guys a bottle of Autocrat.
Yes.
See what you think.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
I want to try
Oh,
it.
yes. Well, if you couldn't tell by the themed cocktail this week, we are talking about David Koresh, the Branch Davidians, and the Waco Siege. And
Yes, ma'am.
then we'll go to another thing. There's really no good like transition to the other topic, but we're going to talk about America's Next Top
Instead of
Model.
hiding in a house, they're going to show off their, I don't know. We're going to edit that out.
No, please leave that in. That was so great
I
because
was
both of
trying to come
us
up
are
with some
struggling.
kind
Both of us are struggling to get a good transition between Waco and then America's Next Top Model controversies.
toxic situations.
Yes, you
There
know
we
what?
go.
Toxic leaders.
Hmm.
There's people under them that are also toxic, putting
Exactly.
innocents in toxic situations. There we go. There we found the
Oh, there we
connection.
go.
There we go. Now, as we've been doing recently, if you don't want to hear this or relive it, because I'm sure a good amount of us were alive during the Waco Siege in 1993. We'll put the timestamp in the description so you can skip on ahead to hear how Tyra Banks and Janice Dickinson and a bunch of other people caused some shit.
Traumatized women
Yes.
and men
Yeah,
and
exactly. I have to say
everyone.
though, I do enjoy Janice's TikToks of her watching people walk.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And what was she on recently? She was on Nip or not Nip Tuck,
Botched.
Botched. Oh my God, sorry, they're barking.
It's fine. Bori just
That
burped so
she is
loud. I was like, can you hear it?
Lori, good job.
I know.
Um, she is entertaining just because she's so unhinged and her brain is
Yeah.
partially rotted away, but from drugs and
But her
trauma.
on that show. But we'll get into it.
Yeah,
We will get into it because
we
we know
will.
how
We sure
important it is
will.
to get into the topics.
Into it. Do you want to give us a little rundown on the history of the Branch Davidians?
Yes, absolutely. By the way, I have it written like 3 ways in this, so this is going to be fun to
It's
remember. It's
okay.
Davidians and not Divinians or dividends.
I know, I always want to say it differently, which
But
is
I don't know why my autocorrect changed it to dividends.
dividends.
I wasn't talking about money and
Ollie, you do not get a martini.
is he trying to jump up on on
He's
the
like
table?
going over the table, like trying to get into my drink.
I have to
No, no,
say,
no.
that's why I enjoy having a pint-sized little guy. He can't jump up on my desk while I'm trying to drink things, but
The big boy.
I digress. Yes, let's dive into the Waco Siege and the Branch Davidians. So, it is a religious group that originated in 1955 from a schism in the Shepherd's Rod following the death of the Shepherd's Rod founder, Victor Again, should I have looked up how to pronounce people's names ahead of
I don't
time?
know how to say. I think it's
Probably.
Hotep or
Hotef?
something. Yeah.
Like Houston? Hutef?
I can't remember. I watched some of the documentaries and that's where I figured out
Okay.
Koresh, but I
Yes,
don't know. I don't know how to say that
that's
one.
okay.
Hotep?
Victor. Shepherd's Rod was an American offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventists. Fun fact.
Mm.
So the Davidians, Victor founded based on his prophecy of an imminent apocalypse involving the second coming of Jesus Christ and the defeat of the evil armies of Babylon. Its
Mm.
leadership moved the church to the hilltop several miles east of Waco, Texas, called Mount Carmel. There's no weird way to say that one. It's not caramel or caramel. It's
Caramel.
Carmel. Okay. They moved again to a much larger site east of the city. And then in 1959, Victor's widow, Florence, announced that they expected Armageddon was about to take place, and members were told to gather at the center to await this event. Many of them built houses, others stayed in tents, trucks, or buses, and most of them sold all of their possessions. Newsflash, the world didn't end. Shocker, I know. And following that failure, the control of the site fell to Benjamin Roden, founder of the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Association, also then just known as the Branch Davidians. Upon his death, control of the branch fell to his wife, Lois. Lois considered their son, George, unfit to assume the position of prophet, and instead she groomed Vernon Wayne Howell, later known as David Koresh, to be her successor. In 1984, a meeting led to a division of the group, Howell leading one faction, calling themselves the Branch Davidians, and George Roden leading the competing faction. George ran Howell and his followers, not fathers, off Mount Carmel at gunpoint, and Howell and his group relocated to Palestine, Texas. And then after the death of Lois Roden in November 1986 and probate of her estate in January 1987, Howell attempted to gain control of Mount Carmel Center by force. George had dug up the casket of Anna Hughes from the Davidian cemetery and had challenged Howell to a resurrection contest
What?
to
I
prove
didn't.
who was the rightful heir to the leadership.
Oh
Howell
my gosh.
instead went to the police and claimed Roden was guilty of corpse abuse, but the county prosecutors refused to file charges without proof. Crazy, right?
That's nuts. I didn't read about that.
They were
That's
having a resurrection off.
oh my gosh, that's creepy.
Now, okay, let's face it. There's a lot of bullshit going on. Like, there's a lot of craziness going on here.
Yes. Absolutely a cult.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. If you guys didn't
Obviously.
realize, we're trying out some cult stuff now.
Yes.
We
Absolutely a
decided it would
cult.
be good to expand our horizons.
And who's deciding these things are real? And it's just very bizarre.
I just find it so insane how people end up in these situations where they're like, I'm going to sell everything I own. I'm going to live out of a tent. The world's ending. Like, why do I need everything? And then it's like the next day and the world hasn't ended. What do
What
you
are you
do?
gonna do?
Like, no lie. Do you remember in 2012 when they were like, the world's going to end?
Yes.
Because like the Mayan calendar and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people got into it. There was a website that was like connected to Facebook that showed like an earthquake is happening in Australia on the day. And I remember being in college in my room being like, I'm
Is it
dead.
gonna end? Yeah. Yeah.
Like, should I call, like, what should I do? I remember being that person though, being like, this is not good.
I know. I mean, it sounds all of the Mayan history stuff was creeping me out because I'm like, they
Yeah.
predicted everything. So
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So then they ended into wanting to do this resurrection off.
what does that even mean? Are they trying to bring this body back to life
Yeah.
and they both are competing to do it?
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
It's bizarre.
I know.
How
It's
do they
like
know who did it?
whose sect of this cult is stronger? Who is the rightful heir to the
And
crazy
how are they
throne?
doing it? Are they just like holding
Power
up
over her with their hands, like, come on, like,
using brain energy? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
Um,
very funny.
do you have anything on the shootout that occurred afterwards?
I just have a note that says in a gun battle in the late 1987,
Yes.
George Roden was shot in the head and
Hmm.
chest. And Howell and 7 followers went on trial for attempted murder. The 7 other men were acquitted, and Howell's case ended in a mistrial.
Yep.
That's all I have.
The Rodenville Eight, they were called. The
Ooh,
Rodenville Eight. And it also took the sheriff's department 20 minutes to respond to the gunfight.
great.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. So what ended up happening is like you said, uh the 7 of them got arrested, essentially. And I want to call him Howell because that's what they're calling him, but it's like we all know him as David Koresh got off,
Mm-hmm.
which interestingly enough, that how he got off and the rest of them beyond me.
Yeah, I want to know more about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But during this, Roden got arrested and put in contempt because he was using such foul language in court. He was threatening the Texas court with sexually transmitted diseases if the court
What?
ruled in Koresh's favor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then alongside those charges, he was jailed for 6 months for legal motions he filed with explicit language.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't die after getting shot in the head and
No,
chest.
just wounded.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't understand what's going on with we've been covering all these people
So
have just
many
been getting
people.
shot in insane ways and then they're living. I'm like, okay. Like, what are you doing? And
How?
then after all this, Roden tried using an axe to kill. Oh, he used an axe to kill a Davidian named Wayman Dale Adair, who visited him to discuss the alleged because Adair had a vision of being God's chosen Messiah.
Of
So
course.
Roden was like, "You can't be Messiah. I'm the
I
Messiah.
am. Yeah.
I gotta kill you." And chose an axe. He obviously was found guilty under an insanity defense and was committed to a mental hospital. So after that is when Koresh was like, "I'm gonna get back on Mount Carmel because that's the goal here, people." Mount
All of
Carmel
these
is their
toxic
like
masculine figures trying to take
seriously
control.
of a mount. Like what? Is it? I don't know. Is it a
Oh.
real mountain? No, it's like a hill, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
But
just a
he ended up paying
location.
off all the back taxes and took legal control of it. And then after the legal proceedings, it was noted in a 90-minute interview by the Davidian's attorney, Douglas Wayne Martin, that the religious group had been back and forth to court since 1955.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. And that's when he changed his name, right? In
Um,
1990?
I don't know if that's after the New Light audio tape
Oh, yeah.
or I know he does. I think maybe it is at that time because it's before the Sinful Messiah stuff came out. He changed it.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe it is during this time.
I guess Koresh
Yes,
is the Hebrew translation of Osiris, the ancient Persian king who conquered Babylon and allowed the Jews to return to Israel. So he was saying that he was a symbol of that when he took control over the Branch Davidians.
of course he did. Yeah, and then
Classic narcissist.
yeah, and then the New Light audio tape.
Did you see me just spill all over
Yes, I
myself?
did. I wasn't gonna say anything, but
We're
then
just
you
gonna
asked.
continue on. Sorry. No, I don't have anything,
Okay. So
but
the
I
New Light
remember it.
audio tape came out in on August 5th, 1989, where Koresh said that God told him to procreate with the women in the group to establish a house of David of his special people.
Blech.
So that involved separating married couples in the group who had to agree that only he could have sexual relations with the wives while the men should observe celibacy.
Yuck.
He also said in this tape that God had told him to start building an army of God to prepare for the end of days and salvation for his followers. Why is there always an end of days?
I know.
Oh yeah, and then this is when so he filed a petition in the California State Superior Court in Pomona on May 15th, 1990 to legally change his name for quote publicity and business purposes to David Koresh.
I think the end of days thing is just a way of them to control people, obviously, to
It's the end of
strike
days.
fear into people's minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a
Um,
nut.
what a nut. He's disgusting.
We haven't even really got into the disgusting
We
part.
haven't really. No,
Oh
we
my
haven't.
God. Okay. So then the Waco Tribune Herald began publishing The Sinful Messiah in
Mhm.
1993, which was a series of articles by Mark England and Darlene McCormick, who reported allegations that Koresh had physically abused children in the compound and had committed statutory rape by taking multiple underage brides.
Ew.
Now, if this sounds eerily familiar to what's his name? Warren Jeffs,
Mhm.
you'd be right. The paper claimed that Koresh had announced he was entitled to at least 140 wives, and that he was entitled to claim any of the women in the group as his, that he fathered at least a dozen children, and that some of these mothers became brides as young as 12 or 13.
Ew, that's so gross.
Yeah. And
It's too
then
young.
on the other end of that, he and his followers were suspected of stockpiling illegal weapons. In May 1992, Chief Deputy Daniel Weinberg of the McLennan County Sheriff's Department called the ATF, known as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, to notify them that his office had been contacted by a local UPS representative concerned about a report by a local driver.
He accidentally saw what was inside a package he was delivering to the Mount Carmel Center: automatic weapons, hand grenades, and explosive powder. After seeing this and noting that several similar seeming packages had been delivered there weeks prior, the driver thought it prudent to tell someone about what was going on. Probably a good call.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's smart. Thank you for,
Glad you did that.
yeah, good job.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let's face it, the ATF, there's a lot of lessons learned here for the
Yes.
ATF, the FBI.
There's a lot of overstepping on
There's
many
just there's a
sides.
lot. There's a
Yeah.
lot here, guys.
Yes. So they found that David Koresh and the rest of the cult were violating federal firearms regulations, like you said. Raided on February 28th, 1993, about 80 agents from the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms raided the religious compound.
That's
Sorry.
also after, though, they did a really poor job posing as poor college students living
Oh,
across the
yeah.
street,
Yeah.
starting in June of 1992. Yeah, so they tried doing that first and failed miserably. And then they also sent an undercover agent into the compound to become a part of the cult, which is
Yes.
poor Robert Rodriguez.
Did he stay there? Did he
He
end up
did, but
joining? Okay.
Koresh knew that he was an undercover ATF agent and didn't reveal it that he knew that fact until the day of the raid.
Okay,
Yeah.
why?
So he could be
Um,
like, I knew it was you all
manipulate
along.
him. Yeah. Oh, by the way, sorry, random. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts where they do Zoom videos, and these new Zoom pop-up things are like freaking people out because they didn't announce it in any way. And like
Then
all of
it's
a
not
sudden
happening
party
to everyone
balloons
either.
happen. No, just some of them. And they're like, what just
Did I show you
happened? It's a
this one yet if I
ghost.
do a heart?
Mine doesn't do it.
I don't even know how to make the confetti go. I used to know. Oh, I think it's this one.
Why doesn't
I don't
mine do
know. We got to figure that out.
it? What is AI companion? Sorry. Okay. Um,
That's what editing's for.
PC.
For the raid. They obtained search and arrest warrants. The search warrant commanded a search on or before February 28th in the daytime between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Mhm.
That seems very specific. I don't know. I've never seen a warrant before. Is
I think
that,
they
I
can
don't know if that's
decide
normal.
when to do it. Yeah.
Um, and ATF requested assistance from the DEA and the U.S. Department of Defense, citing a drug connection based on a recent delivery to the compound of chemicals, instruments, and glassware. A written testimony from a compound resident alleging Howell had told him that drug trafficking was a desirable way to raise money.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Several current residents who had prior drug involvement, two former residents who were incarcerated for drug trafficking crimes, and National Guard overflights thermal images showing a hot spot inside the compound, possibly indicating a methamphetamine lab.
I feel like we all have seen the news reports on TV about this whole thing that lasted 51 days. Insane.
51.
Insane. It was very violent.
The Branch Davidians knew a raid was coming, and despite that, the ATF commander ordered that the raid go ahead on February 28th, even though their plan depended on reaching the compound without the Branch Davidians being armed and prepared. And of course, any advantage of surprise was lost, because why wouldn't it, especially in this case? Because KWTX TV reporter had been tipped off about the raid, asking for directions from a U.S. Postal Service mail carrier who was coincidentally Koresh's brother-in-law.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And then Koresh then told undercover ATF agent Robert Rodriguez that they knew a raid was imminent. That
Mm-hmm.
was his way of telling him, I knew it was you. Um, Koresh ordered selected male followers to begin arming and taking up defense positions while the women and children were told to take cover in their rooms. Koresh told them he would try to speak to the agents, and what happened next would depend on the agents' intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Agents claimed that they heard shots from within the compound, while Branch Davidian survivors claimed that the first shots came from the ATF agents outside. Other reports claim that the first shots were fired by the ATF dog team sent to kill the dogs in the Branch Davidian kennel. I don't like that.
I know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's still a mystery who shot first. But we do know that during the initial gunfight, Koresh called 911 to try to get the authorities to lay down their arms.
Hmm.
And while on the phone, he preached the Bible to the operator.
Yeah.
So shooting began, and this is where it all like goes fucking crazy. After 4 ATF agents and 6 Davidians were killed in this gunfight. Um, a ceasefire was arranged, and nearly 900 law enforcement officers eventually surrounded the compound, including hostage negotiators and rescue teams from the FBI. There were tons of news reporters around this like entire shootout. Like they were just parked around it, and
Just
it's
hanging.
so dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, it's insane. Um, during the on and off shootout, they actually put out news reports that they worked with the FBI to put out different news reports that would try to manipulate the people inside to leave. So they were like saying terrible things about Koresh and like how he planned on murdering everyone to
Hmm.
try to get them to leave, and that way they could arrest everyone and actually get inside. But they did some early negotiating, and the Davidians sent out about 24 children in exchange for food and other supplies. Numerous children remained among those inside, and many of them Koresh's children with various women, because he had so many wives. So
You
many
said that like
wives.
Borat.
He called them spiritual wives.
Well, yeah, because he couldn't legally marry them.
Right.
I don't think polygamy was okay in Texas, nor do I
And,
think it is at
and marrying
all.
11-year-olds, I don't think that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, let's see. So all this time, he threatened violence against those who would attack his family and asserted that the Davidians weren't planning a mass suicide, which was being put out into the news. Let's see.
Um, the FBI began consulting with Bible scholars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Philip Arnold and James Tabor, who studied a transcript of Koresh's radio podcast. Oh, radio broadcast. Podcasts weren't there yet. Whoops. Try to understand Koresh's theology. And then that week, of course, they were guests on a talk radio program on Dallas radio stations, KRLB and KGBS. And Koresh heard the programs on a battery powered radio. And then on March 16th, he asked the FBI for permission to discuss the Bible directly with Arnold, and the FBI denied his request.
Yeah, and he sent a message through his lawyer announcing that he had received word from God and was writing his message on the 7 seals. He would come out with his followers when he was finished. The hostage rescue team, which handled all the tactical maneuvers, disagreed on how to handle the siege. So like all of these different departments were fighting over how to deal with this, and that's where it kinda got out of control because they all were trying to do different things. Um, the latter team, frustrated by the slow pace of the negotiations, employed aggressive tactics like playing ear-splitting music or crushing the Davidians' cars, disrupting often delicate negotiation efforts. So there were some people trying to like peacefully negotiate while they're
Yeah,
crushing their cars and blasting
exactly.
music.
And the stuff they were blasting too,
Scary.
all night broadcasts of recordings of jet planes, pop music, Buddhist chanting, and this is the
It's just
kicker,
unhinged.
the screams of rabbits being slaughtered.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's so horrible. If
Like,
you've ever heard that
okay.
sound, it's horrible.
No, and I don't ever want to.
The FBI tried to end the siege, at one point, and Attorney General Janet Reno ended up approving a
Yes.
plan to fire CS gas, a form of tear gas, into the Mount Carmel compound to try to
Janet
force them out.
Reno.
Janet Reno, a famous name. Just after 6 a.m. on April 19th, 1993, FBI agents used two specially equipped tanks to penetrate the compound and deposit some 400 containers of this tear
Yeah,
gas.
we get into that though. So she went and talked to then President Bill Clinton about this, right?
Yes.
And he suggested they do similar tactics against the Branch Davidians as of what was used during the April 19th, 1985, the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord siege in Arkansas, which ended without any loss of life by a blockade without a deadline. And then, of course, Reno countered that the FBI hostage rescue team was tired of waiting and all that. So then Clinton was like, okay, I'll just give the go ahead.
Gosh. So after that attack was made, several fires broke out around the compound, and then gunfire was heard inside, like you said. Safety concerns prevented firefighters from entering Mount Carmel. They were like too close to the gunfire, so they couldn't get to the flames. And it spread and quickly engulfed the property.
And this started
Um,
at like 5 a.m.
yeah. And I remember watching the documentary. They had
Mhm.
several, like, it was really sad. There are multiple documentaries. One of them kind of shits on the police, and one of them's like really like empathetic towards the
Of
police,
course.
of course. And they showed scenes of them like trying to climb up ladders into windows and then getting shot, and then they would have to drag the FBI agents away. It was like really horrifying to watch, actually.
Yeah, it's
Just
funny
terrifying.
because I watched the one that's on Netflix
Oh yeah, and that's
day
very
before.
empathetic.
Yeah, the day before you text me being like, let's talk about Waco. And I was like,
Oh,
great.
really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Amazing.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
really interesting. Like,
yeah.
I just don't get how it happened like this.
But it went from 5 a.m. to, hold on, 12, 1, 13, 14, 15, 3:45 in the afternoon. Because I
Yeah.
printed out the chronology of events and it goes to 15:45. And I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
that's
not in the
amazing.
military.
So they were hearing gunshots going off throughout the fire too. So they assumed there was a mass suicide happening. Like, 9 Davidians were able to escape. They show
Mhm.
footage of them running out. It's really interesting. And then once the fire subsided, they found 76 bodies inside the compound, including 25 children, which is so
So
sad.
sad.
Koresh had a fatal gunshot wound to the head, and several others had gunshot wounds in their bodies. So it looked like they shot each other at the
Yeah.
end.
Well, it's so interesting too because there's the FBI tape that you can hear the people in the house talking about like, oh, where's like the stuff, where's the liquid, where's the so they
Yeah.
thought they were going to do a mass suicide like Jonestown. And then it
Hmm.
turns out they were just starting fires up in the joint. Like,
And that's still not proven though.
yeah.
There's still people saying it was the FBI.
Oh yeah, no,
There are
it's all
also people
according to the
saying,
government
yeah.
is
There are also people saying that the gunshots in their bodies were from the FBI shooting at
maybe
them.
I mean,
It
we'll
could
never
be.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was heavily criticized from the public.
Yeah.
Reno took responsibility for the botched raid, later admitting that there was no evidence of ongoing child abuse. So basically, when they took the kids out, when some kids did get taken by the FBI, they interviewed them and locked them in a room with a psychiatrist and were trying to determine if they were being molested. So they wanted proof to like have a reason for what they were
Yeah.
doing, the violence, and they couldn't find it. So like these kids were well taken care of apparently. So
Yeah, exactly. I know they were trying to find like any excuse for the raid, and then finally they landed on the like they used the child abuse or alleged child abuse and the illegal guns.
Mhm.
But
And plan of mass suicide in the
yeah,
future. Yeah. The government is maintaining that its actions played no role in starting the fires. Some of the gas that they used and they put inside the building was actually very flammable. So that could have started it. The weird thing is there were fires set like all throughout the house. So like it really didn't seem like they set fires inside.
yeah,
And the FBI wasn't getting inside, so it must have been them.
yeah. They said like at 12:07, that's when the first visible flames appeared. And then like a third fire was detected at 12:09. So they all just and then by 12:10 it was spread so quickly throughout the entire building. And
Mhm.
it was all fanned by high winds and the openings created by the FBI because they had those two massive trucks that
Yeah.
blew holes into the building that were like 8 feet wide and
Uh-huh.
high. And so they could get the tear gas in, which why do you need a hole that big to get tear gas in?
I know. I guess they had like metal walls inside the building. Like they had
I mean, probably, yeah.
built these crazy locked metal things inside. So that was part of the conspiracy because they broke through that. They think they could have gotten in and started a fire to get
Oh,
them
you have a
out.
bunch of conspiracies.
I have a lot of
Yes.
conspiracies.
I think we
But
need to do a conspiracy theory episode too.
oh my
Just
gosh, we
throwing that out
should.
there. Sorry.
No,
We
we
can wear
should.
our tinfoil hats like Craig.
I have a little tidbitty on Timothy McVeigh if you want.
Yes, give us a tidbit.
Okay, so the lawyer and former Senator John Danforth, who led the investigation into the sieges and concluded that the government agents did not start the fires or shoot at the compound, which is not real. Despite this conclusion, resentment lingered about the government's handling of the situation, which partially fueled the growth of these homegrown militias around the United States. So a lot of these like gun groups,
Hmm.
cults, and anti-militia or anti-government groups started. In April 1995, on the second anniversary of Waco Siege end, a militant named Timothy McVeigh used a truckload with 4,800 pounds of fuel oil and aluminum nitrate to attack Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, with a total of 168 people killed and some 850 wounded.
Oh yeah, that's the
Um,
Oklahoma City. Yeah.
yeah, but he was part of this branch Davidian.
Yeah, and he said he was like super inspired by David Koresh and to do
Hmm.
this. Yeah.
So creepy.
So
So creepy.
creepy.
So during the standoff, Koresh had several late night chats with the FBI, like we talked about. He did admit to them that when he was a kid, he was lonely and he was bullied in school and placed in special ed classes as a result. But according to his mother, he was interested in learning and always wanted to explore. But he clearly had some learning issues and was bullied for it. Koresh became interested in the Bible around 12 or 13 and would listen to preachers on the radio. By 18, despite having dropped out of school in his freshman year, he allegedly managed to memorize both the Old and New Testaments. So he was kind of
Wow.
obsessed with religion.
I'd say so.
Yeah, at a young age, like 12 or 13. That's crazy. Go play soccer. Um, sorry.
Oh my God.
Okay, and then some really crazy stuff about his childhood. When Koresh was an infant, his mother married a man who had just been released from prison and was violent and abusive towards her and Koresh. He was 18 months old. Bonnie gave him to her mother to look after, and Koresh reportedly called his grandmother Mama. He basically was calling his grandma Mom a lot. He didn't recognize his mom as his mom.
Wow.
Um, there was a another really nuts fact about Koresh's mom, Bonnie. In 2009, she was stabbed to death by her younger sister Beverly
Whoa.
in her home.
Whoa.
Yeah, they were the only two people there.
Of
Um,
course.
and there was a history of mental illness. And according to reports, Bonnie had gone to Beverly's house to take her to the doctor. But the motive of the murder is unknown. But that would cause some trauma.
A little bit. Yeah, so on August 3rd, 1993, a federal grand jury returned a superseding 10-count indictment against 12 of the surviving Branch Davidians. The
Yeah.
grand jury charged, among other things, that the Branch Davidians had conspired to and aided and embedded in the murder of federal officers and had unlawfully possessed and used various firearms. And then the government dismissed the charges against one of them, according to a plea bargain. And then after a
Yeah.
jury trial, nearly 2 months, the jury acquitted 4 of the Branch Davidians of all charges. Additionally, the jury acquitted all of the Branch Davidians on the murder-related charges, but convicted 5 of them on lesser charges, including aiding and abetting the voluntary manslaughter of federal agents. 8 of them were convicted of firearms charges and received sentences up to 40 years.
Hmm.
And then 6 of the 8 appealed both their sentences and their convictions.
Yeah, and they got them reduced. And by 2007, all of the survivors were out of
Yeah,
prison.
crazy town.
I don't think any of this happened the way it should have happened.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, so in the aftermath, it really prompted the FBI to reevaluate its tactics and proceed. I can't talk right now. I sound like rumors and
National.
nonsense. Tactics and procedures. The agency made several adjustments in response to the criticism it faced, including there was a greater emphasis on crisis negotiation and peaceful resolutions. The HRT, the hostage rescue team, underwent enhancements in terms of training, equipment, and coordination to improve their effectiveness in high risk operations. And the interagency cooperation was emphasized to facilitate better coordination and information sharing among federal entities involved in complex situations.
Where are they now?
I don't know, Kaisa. Tell me. No, I seriously don't know. Please tell
A
me.
small little group of Branch Davidians live and worship at Mount Carmel today, called the Branch.
How is
Uh,
that still allowed in that area?
no, it's called the Branch, the Lord our righteousness. That is really hard to say for me. I don't know why. It's too many
Mm.
little
Do they not
um
go by but they just go by the branch?
yeah, comma,
They
the Lord
should.
our righteousness. Yeah. This group claims David Koresh twisted biblical teachings, but other Branch Davidians, some also living in Mount Carmel, still align themselves with Koresh and his versions of the Branch Davidian faith. So they're like some people that agree with him, some that don't, but they're both Branch
They're
Davidians.
both there.
Very strange.
Wow, I
They
had
still
no idea.
exist. Yeah.
No idea.
Very
Wow.
weird. And I actually listened to a snippet of a podcast where they were interviewing some people who are Branch Davidians, and they were just talking about how everything was made up by the FBI. Everything. And
Interesting.
how the land was beautiful, and they miss running around and jumping in the pool that was filled with snakes.
What?
I don't know. That's what the woman said. She was like, it was filled with snakes, but I loved swimming in it. I was like,
Okay.
cool, woman.
Sure. That sounds wonderful.
Clearly didn't listen
I
to a ton of
love
that, but
that.
yes. Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow. Well, I'm glad we made it out of that siege mostly unscathed.
I suggest everyone watch the
Yeah.
documentaries. It's hard to explain everything that happened.
They're really, really good.
Hmm.
Super good.
Very good.
But yes,
And what was good when I was younger, but is so horrifying, is
America's Next Top Model. I didn't realize it had such a watching comeback during COVID.
I didn't either. I didn't watch it.
I didn't either, but I guess that's how so many of these controversies have come up now
Okay, that
is
makes
because
sense.
the show ran from what 2004, 5,
2003,
3?
it
Okay.
premiered. Yeah.
2003 to 2018.
Hmm.
And people started rewatching it during, I mean, let's face it, we all started rewatching shows during COVID because the 2 weeks we were just supposed to spend indoors turned into
Like 8
a lot
months.
longer.
Yeah.
So a lot of people started rewatching America's Next Top Model and were like, this could never air today.
I know, right?
And there are so many.
Stop, stop, stop,
Ollie
stop.
agrees. Ollie has strong opinions on America's Next Top Model.
Yelling about the
He's the
controversy.
reason why we're talking about this. He was
He
adamant we
is.
bring this up.
Because like mom calls me chubby, so she got it from Tyra.
God, seriously.
So Tyra created it when it premiered in 2003, or she was one of the creators.
Hmm.
She was an executive producer, and it was also developed by Ken Mock and Kenya Barris. It was semi-annually until 2012, and then annually from 2013 until 2016 when it has been airing on VH1. And that's when isn't that when it resurfaced in 2018?
Yeah, and they started doing like all-star
Dude.
seasons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I only watched like I think up until like 2016.
Yeah, well, you were in there longer than I was. I watched up until Whitney won, who she was like the first plus size
Mm-hmm.
model to
Plus
win.
size.
I know, quote unquote. I loved her. Uh,
Yes, me too.
and I think that's when I stopped watching it. And that must have been in high school. I think she must have been like 2008, 2009, maybe before.
I just I watched it with my parents and they never said anything about how bad it
But think about it, that's
was.
because it was so normal back then.
I
Like,
know, and
you
now I'm
remember
like,
us growing up, it was
wow.
like low-rise jeans, like
Yeah.
the like practically have your sorry.
Vagina
Yes, I was gonna say have your labias out and
flapping
proud.
around,
Like, yeah, that's what I was about to say.
flapping in the
Like,
wind.
flapping in the wind and like crop tops and
Time.
heroin chic.
Heroin chic.
Yes.
I have so many too. I just want to say I forgot about how they really took people's trauma and like used it against them.
And
Like
like
their worst
drove
fears.
it into overdrive.
Yeah.
And I also forgot how bad the makeovers were. Like your
Yeah.
model makeover.
Blackface. There's so many
We can get
examples.
into that.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Throw one out there. You start us
uh
off.
okay. Yes, I have so many. Oh my God. So I have Cycle 1, Episode 6.
Oh, you got the
Adri
episodes. Yes.
Adrienne, and I remember this,
I
was
remember Adrian.
sexually assaulted on her go-see. Remember those
Yes.
go-sees? So go-sees, they would drop them in the middle of a city to go to a
Like
like
random
meetup,
cities though. Like
random
that
in
they
like
were
other
say
countries.
yes.
This was Paris, for example. She did not speak French. So dropped her in the middle of the city. They would just like leave them with nothing, but like I think an address, maybe. I don't even
Yeah,
remember.
like no, they had their itinerary for the day.
Yeah.
Like
So
everywhere they
different
needed to go and what
address.
time they needed to be there and all
So they were
that.
running around, not speaking the language. She asked some man like directions and he reached up her skirt and she complained about it. It was on video too, like it was on the show. But she did say that the camera crew stepped in and pushed him away and they were there for her. But like
That's
I
good.
just
That's
like
like
it
the
would have
one time
been
they did
a
that.
much bigger deal though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, going off that then, we have Kenya Hill, who was part of the final three in cycle 4.
Oh God, the fat shaming.
No, she had to tolerate aggressive flirting from a male colleague and
Oh
went
yeah, yeah.
on this YouTuber Oliver Twix video like show or whatever and was saying that the aforementioned male model was practically erect and that she felt like she was being
Oh,
raped from behind
oh my God.
and in front of everyone.
It's horrifying.
And she's quoted as saying, like, I thought in that moment I was going to do what Tyra would do. And she said, like, she would be a boss, she would stand up for herself, and she wouldn't allow this to go any further. But when she talked to Tyra about it on the show, the host told her to use her feminine wiles
What
to,
does that mean?
exactly, what the hell does that mean?
What does
It's
that
like as
mean?
a way of telling the male model to back up. She said, boy, you better back up before I knock you upside the head. Banks told her on the show, but you do it in a fun way where he knows to back the heck up, but then it doesn't really put static in the air. Okay. And then, like you said, like,
Victim shaming.
yeah. And then they also talked about her diet during filming and encouraged her to eat better to offset her weight gain. In photo shoots, she was forced to dress as the deadly sin of gluttony
Yeah.
and an elephant while the show played sound effects and zoomed in on her stomach.
Meanwhile, everyone else was like a gazelle or something
Yeah, and she was an
graceful.
elephant. And then
Yeah.
she was scolded for the amount of retouching considered necessary on her photos as well.
Yeah, during that nature shoot, they
Yeah.
said we gave you things so you could cover your belly. Also, wait, this is so ridiculous. Tyra, like they all had their little like taglines that
Hmm.
Tyra said about them, and she was like, Kenya was confident and hungry for success.
Wow.
Little Kenya's appetite for victory.
That's so rude.
Just like basically being like, she's a fatty, like
Yeah.
just on TV. It's so sick. Also, she came out and said that they fed them like crew food, like
Oh, I'm sure.
burgers and hot
Yeah.
dogs, and
They're
like
not going to
that
just
was it.
spend extra money on other things for them.
So like she didn't usually eat like that. So of course
Yeah.
she gained weight, you know?
Yeah.
It's so abusive.
So abusive.
There's the controversial shoot for the Got Milk campaign.
Yes.
Cycle 4, episode 5
I remember. By the way, I was on my TikTok yesterday and this like clip
came
came
up.
up.
It's I just can't believe.
The
Like
shit that
if that
was allowed
happened
on
today.
television. Like, what the hell? Yes,
So
but talk about
Jay
it.
Manuel, the creative director, said there's a twist. We're actually going to switch your ethnicities.
He did an interview recently, like a couple years ago, saying how much he regrets that.
Okay. At least
Jay
I mean
Alexander did, at least, yeah.
Kenya, who who is now a modeling coach, she said that she made a serious fuss about it because she said it takes place prior to what she calls the sensitivity era. So not many people thought it was wrong at the time, obviously, but they were putting thick dark brown foundation on the white models.
Blackface is blackface no matter what era we're in.
And Tyra played it off as celebrating how beautiful
Oh,
black
yeah.
skin is, but that's not okay.
No.
That is not okay.
And then they brought it back again.
Yeah, they oh my God.
In the race bending, it was race
Oh
bending was the
yeah.
theme for a biracial themed shoot in 2009 where white models were put in makeup to make them appear darker and were dressed in stereotypical fashion garments and accessories. Tyra apologized for any offense caused on her talk show, but by then it was already done. Also, I
Wait,
totally forgot she had a talk show.
wait, there was another one too. Hold on. Yeah, I forgot she had a
Stop.
talk show too. Oh yeah. So they had an episode. I don't know if this is the same one, but they painted their skin dark brown to transform um people into Botswanan women.
No, that's a totally
Remember that?
different one. Ooh, sorry.
Cycle 13. Um, this was called out by several people while they were getting makeup done and being put into blackface, literally. And then during the reviews of the photos, Nigel Barker described them as not looking National Geographic enough.
That's because it's not authentic. Hello.
But also, that is in itself not okay to
Yeah,
say.
what the
Like,
hell?
oh my God.
Oh
It's
my
all
God.
just shocking.
You
It's
want to talk about
shocking.
shocking? How about the swimming pool shoot that caused hypothermia in 2006?
Oh my God. I didn't read about this
Yes.
one,
So
but I remember.
the models were asked to pose in a freezing cold pool for a floating water nymph photo shoot and to push through the pain. That's what the coaches told them. Carity actually developed hypothermia after being told to push through the photo shoot. And to make matters worse, the judges told her she had to know her limits and practically blamed her for putting her health at risk.
Yeah, they always blamed
They
them.
always
They were
blamed
like,
them.
um, I remember that shoot and I was like, that is so beautiful.
It was beautiful, but like the fact that they were going like catching hypothermia and then something you touched on earlier was like using their trauma in the shoots
Oh
Two
my
girls
god.
on separate seasons had to pose in photo shoots after finding out like their friends had passed away while on
Mhm.
the show.
Sick.
So you had Kaylin who had to pose in a casket after her friend passed away.
The day after.
Yeah. And the models each had, so this was the Seven Deadly Sins photo shoot where they had to be put in a casket and it was like 8 feet underground. And she was representing wrath. So she ended up using all her anger towards this situation for the shoot. And then in cycle 8, um, how do you pronounce her name? I think it's Jael or Jael. Do you remember her?
Jael. I think it's Jael.
Jael.
Yeah.
She had to take part in a corpse photo shoot the week after her friend died of an overdose.
I want to go back and watch these and just like
Honestly, I was
be
thinking
shocked.
my dad likes to call these kinds of days like a fuck all day where you literally
Mhm.
do fuck all.
Mhm. I
Um,
love that. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So I think I might rewatch this.
I know. That's what I want to do. Okay, so there was the speaking of those like go see things,
Yes.
there was this woman, Brittany Hatch, on cycle 8 who she had memory problems because she was hit by a car when she was
Yes, I remember
young.
her.
I remember her too. And she got like really lost and confused
Mhm.
during her go see. They dropped her in the middle of nowhere and she was like freaking out and panicking. And they didn't help her at all. And they were unsympathetic and said, fashion has no sympathy or empathy. Tyra added, we have hearts. We've known you for weeks and weeks, and we see you as a human being. But the world of fashion and advertising, you need to figure out what works for you and do it.
Cute.
Yup. Real
Yeah.
cute and nice of them to say.
Yeah. Um, so during the like makeovers, there was Danny Evans from Cycle 6. I adored her. She was
Yeah.
so great. The judges pretty much chastised her for refusing to close the gap in her teeth.
Right.
And like during that, Tyra asks her, do you really think a cover girl contract with a gap, like, do you really think you can have a cover girl contract with a gap in your teeth? And she was like, yeah, of course I do. And Tyra brushed it off, like brushed off her optimism and mocked her and told her that a gap isn't marketable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so
that was fucked up.
yeah, so that clip went viral in 2020 when people started rewatching it. And she posted, and Evans posted a response saying, like, what audience didn't see was how she was grilled by Banks during the judging.
Yeah, they cut it out.
Yeah. And Tyra went off on her saying, like, why didn't you get your gap closed? I told you to get your gap closed. And Evans said that in that moment, I knew what was happening. I knew that I was basically being set up and not being told Tyra wants me to get my gap closed so that it's good for TV.
Yeah, so she wasn't told that Tyra was like telling her to get it closed
Yeah,
until and
that
Tyra
happened.
thought she had heard that, and it was just this whole drama.
Yeah.
But how awful. She's like, "I like my gap."
Yeah.
Like, what the
Seriously.
fuck?
And then
Oh my
like,
gosh,
yeah,
this
tell another one.
ableism. Ableism.
Go for it.
Niall, in Cycle 21, I didn't watch this one, but
I didn't either.
apparently they basically Helen Kellered him.
Stop it.
So this is when there were male models as well. He was deaf, completely deaf. They happened to do a photo shoot in complete darkness, so he couldn't see or hear. They didn't have a translator on like the set. They told him they were going to communicate when they were going to take the picture by flashing a flashlight to signal it when to pose. And he didn't understand it because they didn't have a translator to explain the whole thing.
If
So he
you
was
know you're
like,
gonna have a deaf
when
person on your show, how do you not have an ASL translator?
they did during like parts of it, but they didn't have it during the shoot when they were trying to explain this weird
But
way
that's
that
like
they were
when they
doing
would
work with
need
him.
it.
Exactly. So he said he was disoriented when the flash went off with the camera, that he couldn't see a flashlight signaling to him. So it was just like chaos, and he was blind and deaf, basically.
Jesus.
Then when oh my God, Kelly Catrone, do you remember how awful she was?
Yeah.
She's a nightmare. So she asked him during the review if the shoot was his best, and he said absolutely not, and tried to elaborate, and she was like, "That was my question, I'm done," and like cut him off.
Dear
It's
Lord.
all just like really
Yeah.
awful.
Um, Eugenia Washington came out. She was on one of the seasons and she had to walk on a runway that consisted of a path of wooden planks seesawing in a pool while wearing 6-inch heels, a pencil skirt, and 2 corsets. She fell into the water and cracked her knee.
Oh
Oh
my
no, sorry.
God.
She fell and cracked her knee to avoid falling in the water. And 16 years later, she said she still has visible scars from it. And she said, I felt like my life was being put on the line for ratings.
It was.
Yeah. And then do you remember Lisa D'Amato?
Yes, I do.
She came out. I mean, so she was like considered like the bad girl on the season.
Yeah.
And she has openly slammed Tyra and Ken Mock in multiple social media posts that compared her experience of filming to the Stanford prison experiment.
I mean, yes.
Yes. And if you don't know what the Stanford prison experiment is, it's they took a class and split them into prisoners and like police officers and wardens, and it got so out of control.
The power
Yeah.
hunger of it and like control.
They
Yeah.
had to end the study early. They made a movie on it.
Yeah, there are some documentaries
Yeah.
on it. That was bad. Like, wasn't it that part of the shock thing too? The shock therapy. It's the same psychological
Yep.
type deal.
Yeah.
During the cycle three, I think the Japanese government got involved because they thought they were
Yes.
all prostitute or sorry, sex workers,
Yes.
and they like made them all change clothes and arrested them all, and like
Mhm.
there's a lot of drama, and
Yeah.
it didn't seem like the production like stepped in at all. They
No,
were
they didn't.
just thrown into
Yeah.
this.
Speaking of sex workers,
Yes.
there's Angela Preston, who was stripped of her title due to what Tyra said on TV during the finale, unusual circumstances. Um,
Mhm.
so Angela was on the 2009 and 2010 normal seasons and then the 2011 All Stars. She went so far as to like sleep in bus terminals to make tryouts for the show. Her infant daughter died after being born premature and dying 23 days later, which people really
So
sympathized with on the
awful.
show.
Yeah.
And she was really open about it. Um, so when the show was over, she moved to New York, but wasn't getting the high fashion opportunities that she was essentially promised from coming off the show. And she eventually ended up dating someone who encouraged her to sleep with men for money and who she said physically abused her. So a bunch of her friends actually reached out to the show for help for her. But allegedly no one from the show would assist. So then after all this, she went on the All Star season and had her title stripped. And then in 2014, the Los Angeles Times reported that Preston had sued Banks after the former contestant said she had informed producers about her stint as a sex worker and then lost her title as a result.
Yeah, and that was dropped, unfortunately. I wish she would have been able to sue them. They said
Me
they
too.
dropped it because of a moral clause. Like, I'm sorry, these days that would not be a thing.
No,
Um, oh, one second. There was another one
there's so many.
that I wanted to cut. Well, the tirade is classic.
Oh God, yeah.
The iconic. I was rooting for you. We
We were
wanted
all
to
rooting for
do.
you.
So
Yeah,
that was to Tiffany Richardson.
Tiffany.
So she was apparently dismissing the show. She said, I felt like I was fucking up every goddamn time. They were ripping me apart. Every week they just humiliated us. They
They
made us do
did.
stupid shit that makes me look weird, and they're highlighting it. And she told me, let's see. So they aired that part, which went viral,
But
but
not
they didn't air like the really fucked up shit she said.
God.
She told her, you can go back and sleep on a dirty mattress with your baby. What else did she say? She was just like insulting her. She said, that right there. She was coming off drugs before the competition. and she was in a really tough place. And Tyra, like, really, whenever she talked to her off camera, was like, "You're gonna just go home and get addicted to drugs and be homeless again." Like, she was just
Oh
going
my
off at
God.
her. Yeah, she has like a TikTok about all of this. It's really great.
Jeez.
So
Tyra has like,
abusive.
yeah, she has like really abusive language and like putting people down. Like, do you remember Kim Stolz? She was
Sounds
like the
familiar.
first openly gay contestant on the show,
Oh yeah.
and she was on the fifth
Yeah.
season. And Tyra is caught like telling her how to make her gayness more acceptable
Oh yeah, and she was
for the
like, "I
show.
don't go around talking about how black I am,"
Yes, she
like, or
says,
something.
I'm
Yeah.
black and proud, but I'm not like walking down the red carpet saying, I'm black, I'm black. Like,
So she's supposed to like hide it? And
I don't
also, what
know.
is that saying about you? Like,
Yeah. And then there's another time like Tyra, um, Tyra and the judges shamed, what was her name? Gianna for posing for Playboy.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like I remember that.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then the last one I had is for Aminat Allende. She told her, so this was during the makeover thing. She told her stylist that she was allergic to relaxers, but she was forced to continue with the makeover because Tyra wanted it.
There were
And
okay. There's so many situations where she fucked women up
yeah,
and then
so
let them go.
yeah, so she says that she removed her extensions after the show and found a 2-inch bald spot and said it took 3 years for it to grow back.
Okay, so those makeovers,
Dude.
she not only takes their worst fear because they interview
Yeah.
them and they're like, "What would you not want to
And they're
happen?"
like, I
And they're
don't
like,
want my hair bleached. I
"I don't
don't
want
want,
shaved head." And then
yeah.
they shave them and it's always the extreme ones where they're the most upset that get kicked off. And
Hmm.
then their prospects for modeling are ruined because they have this fucked up haircut or
Well, and then they're stuck with this fucked up
whatever
haircut or
for
like new
years.
dye job or like let's
Yeah.
shave off your eyebrows and like all that stuff.
And they're
It's
traumatized from
yeah.
it because it's like a traumatic event. Like Brittany Hatch, do you remember when she
Hmm.
got the weave?
Yeah.
She got
Wasn't
this
she
like
like bawling her eyes out the whole time?
she was crying so hard,
Yeah.
and she said that she had done a bunch of intense dye jobs before she went on the show, and she had blisters all over her head from that, and they still decided to sew in a weave. And they were so, she said that the scabs and sores were under the weave.
Oh God.
So it pulled at them
Yeah, and they
all
weren't
day long.
healing.
They were not, yeah, she got infections. She had to be on antibiotics after she left. And she was like in excruciating pain. And what did Tyra say to her? She
What?
said, "This is an example of how you should speak up for yourself." But they actually called the episode "The Girl Who Cries All the Time."
Stop it.
And they shamed her the whole entire time they
Jesus.
shamed her. But they were like, "Oh, but that's such gaslighting abuse. You need to speak up for yourself, but we're gonna make you feel like shit the whole time." There's so many more examples. I just don't even
That show.
there was racism amongst
Hmm.
cast members and they didn't do anything about it. Homophobia.
Hmm.
Remember when they made them wear those like 18-inch heels and
And
they
they
were
were
like
all falling over. I thought all of them were gonna
and got
break their
hurt.
ankles. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of them did sprain
Did.
their
I think, yeah,
ankle.
I think one of them actually did get like really hurt.
Anyway, this is I do want to go watch them. Maybe
I do
if
too.
we see anything else, maybe we'll talk about it
Yeah.
later.
But it's just nuts. Like
So crazy.
the shit that was allowed.
It was just bullying.
And then haven't really like apologized for.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, I want a documentary to come out.
Me too.
Tyra, well, I mean, she's wild. She
Yeah.
is wild. Have you seen the recent Tyra stuff?
Mm-mm.
Wasn't there like a basketball game where there were like furries sitting next to
Yes.
her?
Oh, I
She
did see
got,
that.
did you see that?
Yeah.
I was like, this has to be a publicity thing,
Yeah.
right?
It's interesting because like there's a conspiracy out there that like her rivalry with Naomi Campbell and Naomi Campbell just like not even acknowledging her presence is why she's so mean to these models on the show.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see
But I
that.
mean, if you're gonna go like Tyra Banks or Naomi Campbell, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to mess with Naomi Campbell.
I also wouldn't want to mess with Tyra.
I don't
She's
want to mess
scary.
with anyone.
She's scary.
Yeah, didn't when Raja did her on Snatch Game, didn't she was friends with Tyra, and then after Snatch Game, she was like, Tyra hasn't spoken to me since it came
Oh
out.
yeah.
She was like
Who do you
smizing with
even
her eyes,
know?
and then it was like fake blood. I
The
loved it.
smizing. That's
Smizing.
still a thing. Like that
I
is still
know.
a viral thing. So she did
Try
make
to
an impact in
smile
some
with your
way.
eyes. My God.
I loved that show back in the day.
Me too. Jeez. Yep. I think you and I, once we're done today, we're both gonna end up,
Mhm.
if you have nothing to do. I know I have nothing to do, so I'm gonna go
It's
watch
just
some, I
the
think.
the eating disorder. Okay, that's another thing I
Oh
just want
yeah.
to say. Tyra, when she started the show, said she was starting this to change the culture of modeling and how she wanted to get rid of the glorification of eating disorders and things like that. But the whole time she's fat shaming
They're fat
people.
shaming everyone. Her and Janice Dickinson would sit there and be like,
They would
this
say
girl
she's
chubby,
fat.
she's fat. Like, wait, I
She's
think
a plus. They said
yeah.
she's a large model, but it's like the top half is a small model. Like she said that about someone.
Yeah, there was like this TikTok that got taken down of, do you remember Robin Manning?
Yes.
She was so sweet. I really loved her. There's like this clip that was going around of Tyra and Janice discussing, and they considered her plus size.
Yeah.
Like discussing during the first season of the show, calling her like fat and huge in all her
Like she's
photos.
so fat, she'll never be a top
Yeah.
model.
And of
Ugh.
course, Janice Dickinson says she like doesn't really have any regrets about the critique she doted out during the time as a judge because she said it was all acting.
What?
Yeah.
That wasn't the point of the show. You weren't supposed to be acting.
I don't know. But I mean,
So
then she was like, yeah, and then Tyra, they weren't friends anymore and all
that's
that.
another thing. Tyra had a falling out with almost all of those
Everyone.
co-hosts. Yeah. So she's crazy.
Hmm.
So I hate to use that word when describing women, but
Well, do we
it is.
want to go quick shots or
Quick shots of
recommendations?
truth. Oh, whatever you want.
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Let's do quick shots of truth.
All right. Quick shots of truth.
I surprised Alex with
Such
this.
a surprise. And I was dying laughing. I was like, quick shots of truth. And I was like,
I was
where did she get this?
from the episode. You said it in the episode, and I was like, I'm gonna slow it down.
I feel like I now have to be careful of every single thing I say.
No, I won't do
No, I
anything
love it. I love it.
bad.
I love it.
I
I
was
love it.
editing it and cackling, and Dane was like in the kitchen, like, what the fuck? And I was like, Alex is gonna kill me.
No, I
uh,
love it. It's so
it
good.
is fitting and it's short and cute. Love
Thanks.
it.
Just like
Anyway,
you have Kaisa's cocktail corner.
we both
And
have
you get to say
embarrassing
that.
little
I now
intros.
get to say quick shots of truth.
I love it. Okay,
Okay.
so you first.
Okay. You ready?
Ready?
Okay.
Warming up. Okay.
And go. Milk, dark, or white chocolate?
Uh, dark chocolate.
Disney or Nickelodeon?
Nickelodeon.
Okay. Giving up coffee or giving up alcohol?
Alcohol.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, or Hunger Games? Which girl are you?
I have that question.
Stop it!
Wait, what are the three? Sorry.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, or Hunger Games?
Lord of the Rings.
Adopt a red panda or adopt a red fox?
Oh, that's hard. Red
Not a
Panda.
Okay, done.
Okay, mine were a couple other things, but I have that same question.
Stop.
Ready.
Wait, how the hell did we both have that question?
I changed it though. Hold on.
Are we
I'm
just
changing
that?
it.
Are we just that connected?
Yeah.
We don't share these questions.
I think yeah, mine was Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, I think. But I have a new one. So,
Okay.
ready?
Yep.
Explore space or deep sea?
Space.
Ooh. Yeah, that's harder to do. Beyonce or Britney?
Oh.
I know. I know.
I think right now I have to go Beyonce.
I get that.
Texas Hold'em
Uh,
has a hold on me.
it
Sorry.
is really good.
It's so good.
Sweet or spicy?
Sweet.
Mm.
Except with margaritas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars or Game of Thrones?
Game of
It's
Thrones.
different. Yeah, yeah. Favorite Housewives or Bravo franchise? One favorite. It's so hard. Sorry to do this
Oh
to you.
my God. That's so mean.
I know.
Vanderpump.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Noah Khan is a huge fan of Below Deck. He's watched every single episode and he's obsessed with Captain Lee. I
Yes.
love him so much more.
I do too. Oh my God. Captain Lee. I have a what's it called from cameo from Captain Lee.
Do you really?
Yeah, Dane got it.
I love that.
He also pronounced my name wrong.
Kasha,
I can't remember. I'll send it to you. It's really funny.
what did Dr. Deb call you? Kaisha. Kaisha. She like had such an issue.
Kaisu. They all say Kaisu.
Kaisu!
That's what Captain Lee said too.
But
Kaisu.
like there's no you in your
I
name.
think I spelled it out KAJ dash
Kaisa.
SUH
H.
because that's how I
Yeah, Kaisa.
would, but they must be reading it Sue. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Captain Lee's was kind of sad because it was like when I lost my job during COVID, and he was like, I heard you lost your job. And
But that's so sweet Dane
he's
did that
very
for you.
encouraging.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you have to recommend this week?
I'm still like loving True Detective, Night
I have a
Country.
surprise for you.
Have you been watching it?
I binged it.
Yes, yeah. It's
That was
good.
gonna be
It's been
mine
intense.
too.
Yeah. It's
I
good.
was like a little nervous in the beginning. Okay, so I've never seen any of the other seasons. I
Oh,
suck.
they're good.
Yeah, that's what I've been
You
told.
would like them.
Yeah. So, um, I was a little nervous at the beginning. It was gonna be like all paranormal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so good.
So there's more like
It hooked
corruption
me.
and stuff.
I have
Yeah.
a harder time wrapping my head around Jodie Foster
I
sleeping with
love
that many men down.
getting banged on a table. Like,
Like making that many enemies because she
just,
banged people's husbands. I'm like, but
yeah.
this is Jodie Foster.
In Alaska, like a small town in Alaska. It's great. I
I'm like,
love her.
okay. Yeah, it's really good though.
Also Traitors, which I know you're
Yes.
obsessed with too. Like this last episode was so good.
Can CT and Phaedra have a spinoff? Is
The
that
whole
possible?
time we were watching, I was like, they need to fuck. Like they just need to
I love
bone
them
on the
so
floor.
much. Well, Phaedra has like a long-term boyfriend now, I guess, but like
Oh, yeah.
I love them
A
together.
doctor or something. I
Yeah.
can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always forget she is a lawyer and she is like so good at what she
She
does.
is having a year already.
She
We're only
is
mid-February.
a comeback.
She's having a real comeback. She's on Traders, Married to Medicine, like
Hmm.
changing up the franchises.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I
Have you
wanted
been
to ask?
watching Married to Medicine?
I've never watched Married Medicine, and
I
I
tried to
watched,
watch it. I don't like it.
yeah, I don't know. I can't get into it.
Hmm.
But I can't wait for Atlanta to come back because Portia's coming back.
I know.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm excited.
I'm
I
so
love her.
excited. But Kenya's excited to have her back. I'm like,
And the
whoa.
hot dog king's gone, and like
Yes, it's
she's
her.
a whole new
She's a
woman.
whole new woman. I cannot wait.
Wait, and who left? Candy?
Candy left. But you know
Candy's
what? It
gone.
was time.
Yeah, she's like a successful ass businesswoman. Like
Yeah.
she has her shit
She's
that
got her
she
shit
needs to
going
do.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, anything else to recommend?
Hmm. I don't know.
I
Drag
got
Race has been amazing too.
Drag Race has been amazing. If you're not watching it, get with it. Um,
Yeah.
I recommend listening to us and following and subscribing and
Good one.
leaving us reviews. Guys, don't forget, we want to start doing those questions. So send us some questions. We're
Yeah,
happy to talk about it. We need some.
it'll be fun.
It'll be so fun. It can be in hypothetical, like, what would you guys do if it was the end of the world? Or like,
I'm having a fight with my roommate about this. What do I do?
yeah,
And we'll give you some funny advice or real advice. Who knows?
yeah. I mean, listen, I love playing the older sister role. It's really fun for me. That thumbs up is accurate.
And I am an older sister,
Me too.
but my sister's more mature than me. So
Same. I think
my
all three of
younger
my
sister.
sisters are more mature than me. I think they look at me sometimes being like, how the hell are you the oldest one? I'm like, it's just by age, guys. It's fine.
I thought you had an older sister.
Nope.
Why did I think that?
Because I don't act like the eldest, probably.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh my God. Nope. It's
Okay.
me.
I thought one of your
I'm
sisters was
top of
older.
that totem pole.
Yay, we are
Yeah.
older sisters.
Yeah.
So give us
So yeah.
questions.
Give us questions and don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, leave a review, send us a question. Follow us on Instagram at Crime Cocktails and BS, on TikTok at Crime Cocktails and BS underscore. Gotta get that underscore. And all that good stuff.
You know
Yeah.
why?
Because I made
The
one by accident
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out how to delete it.
Did you make the one with the right name?
Yeah.
We should use that one.
Yeah, but I don't know how to make it
I know,
it's
I
a whole
couldn't
thing.
figure it out either.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole thing. Where I'm not the most tech savvy
We're both
as I
not.
hit
It's
my head with a
okay.
dongle that's on my desk.
We made it look like I have a dongle too.
Dongles.
This
Okay,
might be a
clearly we
clip.
need to go.
Okay.
Um, but oh my God, it just started snowing like
Oh,
hardcore out my
pretty.
window. Anyway,
Send me
guys,
pictures.
I will. Guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for listening,
Thanks for joining us.
and we'll see you, hear you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So long.